Page 128. Dodi livani lo haroe bashoshanim. Words from Shira Shirim. Words from songs of love.
Dodi livani lo haroe bashoshanim. Dodi li, dodi li, dodi livani lo haroe bashoshanim. Dodi li mizot olam min hamidbar. Mizot olam min hamidbar. Dodi li vani lo haroe bashoshanim. Dodi li mekuteret mor ulevo ואני לא הרואה בשושנים דודי.
On page 132. Or zaru al atzidik kulu yishrei lev simcha. Light is sown for the righteous, radiance for the upright. Page 132.
זהו על הצדיק, זהו על הצדיק. אור זהו על הצדיק, זהו על הצדיק. אור זהו על הצדיק, זהו על הצדיק. אור זהו על הצדיק, זהו על הצדיק. ולישרי לב שמחה, ולישרי לב שמחה. צדיק זרו על הצדיק, אור זרו על הצדיק, זרו על הצדיק, אור זרו על הצדיק, זרו על הצדיק, אור זרו על הצדיק, זרו על הצדיק, ולישרי לב שמחה, ולישרי לב שמחה. זרו על הצדיק, אור זרו על הצדיק, זרו על הצדיק.
And so it's with these beautiful songs of Shabbat that we let go of the week that has been and gather together, Yachad, Lev El Lev, to welcome the Shabbat that is upon us. I want to particularly take a moment to recognize and appreciate the effort of so many that has brought us to this place. The first time when we as a community can gather together in this new platform for Shabbat. Since the start of the month, September 1st, only Tuesday, Yachad has been new to us. And those of us who have been gathering on Facebook or gathering on YouTube have had to learn a new way of coming together, and with you, we hope we've brought a good many other members of our community as we continue to work up towards Rosh Hashanah and the Yamim Noraim, the days of awe that will follow. For those of you that are new to the platform, you can just scroll down below the video and the chat that you're currently looking. You'll see that there is a button that will open up either our flip book for the Mishkan Tefillah, our prayer book that we use on Shabbat and on weekdays, or in a few weeks' time, you'll see that you'll be able to access copies of the Gairo Machzor Mishkan Tshuva through the link that is at the foot of the page. But we are, for now, so very grateful that we can gather together. And I would like to offer a kavanah that will lead us into Lechadodi. It's one that I've been offering the last few Shabbatot. It's on page 129 in the Siddur. I will adapt it for the world in which we live, which, if we're honest, requires a little bit of adaptation. We enter this virtual sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, wherever they may be, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's covenant, God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history, our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into this sacred space to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this space and this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its virtual threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within us, within our human hearts, the harshness of the week or weeks gone by, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts, our voices, and our entire community in prayer. L'chadodi.
לחדודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לחדודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
כאמור וזכור בדיבור אחד השמיענו, אלא מיוחד אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד לשם ותפארת ולתהילה. לחדודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לחדודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונל חגים, מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לחדודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לחדודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה קומיצי, מתוך הפכה רב לך שבט במקבחך, והוא יחמול עלייך חמלה. לחדודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לחדודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. התנערי מהפרק ומלבשי בגדי תפארתך מעל יד בן ישי, בעת הלכתי קרבה אל נפשי כעלה. לחדודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לחדודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי כאב האורך, קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי כבוד אדוני, עלייך נגלה. לחדודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לחדודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לא תבושי ולא תקלמי, מה תשתוכחי ומה תמיבך יחסו. אני אהמי ונגנתה עיר אל תהילה. לחדודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לחדודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. והיו למשיסה שעושייך ורחקו כל מבלייך, יסיס עלייך אלוהייך קיצוץ חתן על כלה. לחדודי
לקראת קהלה, בני שבת בני קבלת, לחדודים לקראת קהלה, בני שבת בני קבלת, ימין ושמאל תפרוצי ותרוני, תריצי על ידי, בן פרסי ונשמחה, ונגילה לחדודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת בני קבלה, לחדודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת בני קבלה. אוי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובתולה, תוך אמונה עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לחדודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת בני קבלה, לחדודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת בני קבלה.
Having welcomed Shabbat with song and with psalm, we now turn back to ritual, to bring the light of Shabbat into our community, into our family, into our sense of togetherness. And it is my pleasure to welcome onto our virtual bimah Denise Same, who is going to be leading us in the lighting of candles. Denise, if I can ask you to unmute your microphone. As we welcome you back on here together. And it is lovely to have all of you. I know there are a few people in your household sharing Shabbat together, but if I could invite you to lead us on page 118 and 119 in the candle lighting.
As these candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindled light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר של שבת.
Amen and Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to all within your home, and Shabbat Shalom to everyone within our communities. If you have someone at home who you can give a hug to, then the hugs are so very important. If you can limit it to an elbow, we'll take that, or maybe a text or even a message in the chat. We want to take a moment for our whole community to wish each other Shabbat Shalom. Whether you be sharing Shabbat with others, or whether you be physically, or whether you be sharing Shabbat with us virtually, it is important that we gather, we celebrate, and we also sing. And so as we offer these greetings, we continue now on page 140 with Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat, a song, a psalm for this Shabbat day.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון.
להגיד בבוקר חסדך, באמונתך בלילות, הרי אסור והרי נבל, הרי היגיון בחינות.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. צדיק אתה יפרח, כארץ בלבנון, בלבנון יזכה, שתולי בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהים יפריחו, עוד ינון בשבע, דשנים ורעננים יהיו כי ישר אדוני טורי ולא עוולה תבוא.
And so we turn to the words of Shalom Aleichem on page 142. As the angels accompany us through Shabbat, so too may we become like unto the angels, blessing each other with the beauty of Shabbat.
שלום עליכם מלכי השרת, מלכי עליון, ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. בואכם לשלום מלכי השלום, מלכי עליון, ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ברכוני לשלום מלכי השלום, מלכי עליון, ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. צאתכם לשלום מלכי השלום, מלכי עליון, ממלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. הקדוש ברוך הוא. הקדוש ברוך הוא.
We turn forward to page 144 as we continue with the Chatzi Kaddish in advance of the call to prayer.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
והעמד תברח ירוצה, וימליך מחוצה. בחייכון וביומכון, ובחייתךו בית ישראל.
בעגלה, בעגלה, ובזמן קריב.
ואמרו,
אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי לקודשה
בריחו.
לעם מן כל בחטא
תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעלמה.
ואמרו
אמן.
ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר בדברו מעריב ערבים, בחוכמה פותח שערים, ובדברו משנה עתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים, בשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולה אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור, ומבדיל יום ובין לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים.
אהבת עולם,
את ישראל, עמך עבדה, עמך עבדה. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשומרנו, קומנו נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו, באורך ימינו, ובהם נגי יומם בלילה, נגי יומם בלילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד, שם כבוד, מלכותו לעולם, לעולם ועד.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר חנוכים מצווך היום הלבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להות ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ישעריך. ויאמר אדוני אל משה לאמור, דבר אל בני ישראל, ואמרת עליהם, ועשו להם ציצית, על כנפי בגדיהם לדורותם, ונתנו הציצית הכנף בתיר תכרת, והיה לכם לציצית, וראיתם אותו. וזכרתם את כל מצוות אדוני, ועשיתם אותם, ולא תטורו אחרי לבבכם ואחרי עיניכם, אשר אתם זונים אחריהם, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Emet. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot. That wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt. And that there's a better place, a promised land. And the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness. And that there's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands when we're allowed, marching alongside each other at an appropriate distance, and joining our voices together across a virtual sanctuary.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע יניב במשה ומרים, דליינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי ברא אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני קהל ישראל. השכיבנו, אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, לשלום. השכיבנו, אדוני אלוהינו לשלום. והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים ולשלום ולשלום. שלומך, השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו, השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Eternal One, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will.
Ashkivenu, Ashkivenu, Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom.
Baruch ata Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Blessed are you, Eternal One. This shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. On page 162, a song of Shabbat, remembering that Shabbat is our covenant for all time. Page 162.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, 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 לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת.
And so as we move forward in our service, we arrive on the page 164, 164 in our Mishkan Tefillah, in our prayer book, and ready ourselves to offer the words of the Amidah. The Amidah, or the Tefillah as it is also known, is our standing prayer. The prayer which calls for us, wherever it might be, to take to our feet and to stand before that which is greater than us. When we're in the synagogue together, that's an easier thing to do. The people to the left of us rise, the people to the right of us rise. We stand as a community. It's much harder when we join together at our desks, on our beds, or in our living rooms. When there's no one to the left of us and few to the right of us. It's much harder because it's not communal obligation, but rather personal intent that draws us to our feet. To stay, that even in a world turned upside down, there are forces greater than us, even greater than a global pandemic. And we humble ourselves before that force in the hope that it brings redemption, relief, and renewal to us all. The Amidah, page 164.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid tehiratecha Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לפני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם וישראל שרה.
אמן.
אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח השמש ומוריד הדר, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחייב מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות ובטוב מלך, מלך ממיתו חיה ומשמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני,
ברוך שמו.
מחיי המתים.
אמן.
אתה קדוש ושמך הקדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
We continue now with a few moments of personal, private prayer. You may choose to continue to work your way through the words of the Amidah, which continue to the foot of page 182. Or you might rather at this time choose to focus on the prayers of your heart.
יהיו לרצון נמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי וגואלי, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable to you, O God, my rock and my redeemer.
יהיו לרצון אמרי פי, אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך, אדוני צורי, אדוני
So I want to preface my remarks and thoughts this Shabbat with an observation. It's an observation which I have come to as a result of a conversation I had with my mother earlier this week. My mum Yvonne asked me, Garen, that's what she calls me, Garen, how come when I watch services you look so much bigger than everyone else? I said, Mum, honestly, I don't know. But I made a mental note of that. And I came into shul today and I looked over to my right. The cantor stands when we lead services some meters away to my right. And I can see that we are standing the exact same distance from the camera. And yet, as my mother observes, I look so much bigger than him. Mum, there's only one reason for that. It's because I am so much bigger than him. But that's not my drush for today. That's just my Shabbat observation. The wanderings of the mind as we all make our way through this period of isolation and lockdown. But through this week, my mind has wandered to some interesting places, led primarily by our Sidra. And while on a Friday night we only on occasion reference the Torah portion, leaving that to our Parashat Shavua class, 9 a.m. tomorrow morning if you want to join us. All the information's on our website, tbi.org.au. Or to the B'nai Mitzvah or the rabbi that is participating and leading the Shabbat morning service. But I wanted to spend just a few moments in Torah this evening as we make our way into Shabbat. Because I think that this week, our Torah portion particularly speaks to us as we are making entry into things and into moments. It begins with the words of Vayaha ki tavo el ha'eretz asher natan, I give you. It begins with the words, when you enter the land that the Eternal will give you, these are the things that you should do. When you enter, it's an aspirational text. It's talking to people who have not yet arrived at the place they want to be, but reminding them before they get there that they shouldn't forget the journey that led them there. They shouldn't forget the lessons, in many cases hard, learnt along the way, that shaped and formed them. They shouldn't enter into the promised land and conduct themselves the way they did before the journey, or in our case, before the lockdown. The portion goes on in the very next few verses to talk about when we enter into the land, we should act with a sense of humility. We should be defined by the characteristic of generosity. It outlines the laws of the bikurim, the giving of our first fruits, the sharing of our harvest, the sharing of our plenty with the community, as well as those that are less fortunate than us. It explains how we should take these offerings to the temple and through the assistance of the priests, share them amongst the people. But when we do so, however full or otherwise our basket might be, as we place our offering, our contribution at the foot of the high priest, our tradition tells us that we should make a declaration. Not a statement of, look how much I have. Not a statement of, look how little I have. But a statement of humility and appreciation. I bring this offering with a full heart. It is a portion of that which I have, and I am blessed and privileged to have it. Because my ancestors, my father, he was a wandering Aramean. He went down into Egypt. My people endured slavery and hardship, famine and heartache. And now I have this. It is a kavanah of the highest order. A kavanah which challenges us to appreciate that which we have, however much or however little, and to recognize that it is a blessing to have it. And we have a responsibility, to the extent that we can, to share it with others. That has been our people's way since first we entered into the promised land. It is how we were told to act before we even arrived. And now, as we make our way through these weeks of difficulty, through our own trials and tribulations, which have been experienced differently by all of us. Some have experienced it significantly harder than others. But none of us have come through it unchanged. We should, as our tradition teaches us, remember those lessons. Hold on to those experiences and recall the extent to which they have shaped and changed us. We should use them to encourage within us a generosity of spirit as well as a generosity of action. We should find a way, even when we look at our basket and say it is not as full as we wish it would be, to recognize that it has much more in it than others. And we all have what we can share, what we can give to make a difference. There is so much that we can complain about right now. There is so much that is wrong with our world. There is so much that we want to go back to as we pretend that none of this ever happened. But it has. It happened just like the wandering in the desert. It happened just like the 400 years of slavery. And we need to learn from it. We need to remember so that it can shape, improve, and define the world that lies ahead. That is what the opening verses of our Sidra challenge us to do this week. And it's what I hope that we as individuals and we as a community can continue to do as we make our way into the new year. To give of our hearts and to give of our spirits. Just as we look to our right and to our left and say our basket is not as full as we would like it to be. It is not as prosperous or as comfortable as it has been in the past. Nevertheless, we should give. Maybe this year it will be a recipe. Maybe this year it will be a blessing. Maybe this year it will be a photo, a reflection, a thought. Maybe it'll just be a smile. But we all have Bikurim to bring. And we should not miss the opportunity to remind ourselves of how blessed and fortunate we are. Wish you Shabbat Shalom. And just as I wish you a Shabbat Shalom, I also recognize that the new year is not so far away. In fact, it is exactly 2 weeks from tonight. We are halfway through the month of Elul, and in 2 weeks' time we will be gathering in this same place, in this same space, for our Erev Rosh Hashanah service. And so in recognition of the month of Elul, and in preparation for the new year, we continue with the sounding of the shofar.
Tekiah Shevarim Tekiah Tekiah Teruah Tekiah Tekiah Shevarim Teruah Tekiah
May it be a good year for all of us, for all our people, and indeed for all humanity. We continue now with the Aleinu prayers on page 586.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We think now of the loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, and those who died at this season in years gone by, and those who we have drawn into our hearts with our own. We think first of those whose Shiva we are remembering and recalling as a community, and offer words as well as prayers of comfort and consolation to their loved ones as we think of Dylan Ellis and Jenya Frimmer. We also think at this time of Gary Axe, Nathan Fink, Helen Flinter-Leach, Miriam Friedlander, George Lederman, Frederick Matzner, Jeffrey Salinger, Ruth Shire, Nancy Schenker, Irene Singh, Dimitrios Tsipanopoulos, Bettine Wolfman, all of whom we are still remembering their Shloshim, the first 30 days since their passing. And on this Shabbat of arrival, the Shabbat of entry, we also think about those who we have lost at this season, those who we have farewelled, and those whose yortzites we are remembering. Shireen Arba, Sadie Cohen, Susie Glaser, Brendan Griffin, Carl Hershen, Anita Lewitt, Adi Lipman, Ron Lowe, Simon Milstein, Gordon Perlstein, John Hastings Reardon, Norman Rothman, Harold Sackville, Janie Schwartz, Simon Sharman, Benny Sloan, Noah Sloan, Lothar Steen, Alexis Taranto, Karen Lee Topel, Faye Willer Nass. And to these names we also add the names that lie deep within our hearts, those names being shared in the chat, as well as those who we carry with us as we pray for the coming of God's kingdom through the words of Kaddish Yatom. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemer haba,
Amen.
ba'amad divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayachon v'yomechon v'chedachol Beit Yisrael, ba'agalav izman kariv v'imru. Amen.
Yehei shmei rabba mavorach leolam ulalmei almaya.
Yiparach v'yishtabah v'yipa'ah v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadah v'yitalei v'yitalal shmei d'kodisha brichu, le'elam min kol brichata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran ba'alma v'imru.
Amen.
Yehei shlama rabba mishmaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to all of us, to all who mourn, but most of all, we ask that that force bring blessing to those who we remember. And to that we say, Amen. It is my pleasure to welcome on to our virtual bimmer at this time Judy Cohn, one of our vice presidents, to offer some greetings on behalf of our Board of Governance and our president, Rebecca Silk. Shabbat Shalom, Judy.
Shabbat Shalom. Well, welcome everyone. On behalf of Rebecca, as Gersh said, and on behalf of the Board of Governance, we welcome all of you to this service this evening as we join together to celebrate the arrival of Shabbat. And how lovely it's been to share the chat and also just to be together. So it's time to down our tools and reflect on the week and look towards the coming events. Over this Shabbat, we have Parashat Shavua in the morning, as Rabbi Gersh said, and that's followed by Shacharit. And then we have a bar mitzvah of Reuben Kemler, and we wish the whole family a Mazal Tov on the bar mitzvah, which will be at 1:30, a mincha service tomorrow afternoon. For Sunday, of course, it's Father's Day, so happy Father's Day to all the dads for Sunday. And of course, also on Sunday, we're awaiting some announcements that will determine how our next few weeks actually are. A reminder that Ma'ariv continues daily from Sunday through to Thursday, but Lunch and Learn is taking a break at the moment. And do make sure, as Rabbi Gersh said earlier, that you're practicing to access services on Yachad. Now's the time before High Holy Days. Don't wait for Rosh Hashanah morning or Yom Kippur morning or Kol Nidrei or any other time to get used to using Yachad, because you want to be able to have easy access. Explore other aspects of Yachad other than just the services. This week we had added in the making of shofar and the making of a Torah for the kids. We've got great recipes, and thank you to all of you who've added some recipes in, and we have some blessings in there as well and lots of other things. High holidays start with Slichot next Saturday, the 12th of September at 8:30 p.m. We look forward to being together for that and in between as well. Many thanks to Gersh, Michelle, Ido, Sharon, Tammy and Victor for being at J-Air and making sure that the sounds of our services have gone out on the radio. Shabbat Shalom to everyone.
Shabbat Shalom, Judy. And we are going to close our service as we do each Shabbat now with the recitation of Kiddush and Motzi. If you have not yet made Kiddush and Motzi, we invite you to join with us now. But just before the cantor leads us in that, I will say that if you missed the opportunity to light candles, we're doing that at 5:30 as a community. There's a Zoom link where we're doing candle lighting. It gives us an opportunity to check in, chat, and speak to one another. And then we close our services with Kiddush and Motzi.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו ורצה בנו בשבת קודשו באהבה וברצון הנחיל לנו זיכרון למעשה וראשית כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים בשבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. לחיים.
לחיים טובים.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המוציא לחם מן הארץ. Amen. Shabbat Shalom and B'teavon.
Shabbat Shalom, B'teavon. And how good it is to be with each other, how good it will be for us to join again tomorrow.
הנה מה טוב ומנעים שברכים גם יחד. 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 How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שברכים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שברכים גם יחד.